Oh, all right. 11 a.m. Exactly. Let's go. Here we are. Hello, everyone. Every morning. That's a good start. Hello, everyone, and good morning. I'm Sophia, she, her. I am the project manager, and wearer of many hats at Octopus Energy. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have over 1,000 students, all told, I believe. So thank you for being one of them. Speaking to every single one of you. So this is not at all intimidating, is it, Greg?
I'd say what I've got a 60, an 18-year-old at home,
Oh, there we go.
and genuinely, I'm still learning.
Yeah, yeah. So today, speaking of learning, today is part lesson, but part ask me, well, ask Greg anything. So it's a chance to fill in any gaps that you feel you might have when it comes to the really massive world that is energy. So, of course, we can't see or hear you. So just to make sure everyone or the teachers have your fingers ready to ask all the questions, type in all the questions. If students, you have a question, usual, raise your hand, ask the teacher and get them to pop it in for us. You can either do that in the chat, but Q&A is also there for you as well. So, as I've said, this is what we are talking about today, energy, the today of energy and the tomorrow of energy, all the opportunities to work in this field. And of course, as I mentioned, your questions, which is probably the most important part, let's be honest. So before I intro you a bit more to Greg, I thought I should probably tell you a bit more about Octopus Energy, just in case you've never heard of us and you have no idea you should listen to us or who we are. So we were founded in 2015 and launched in the UK in 2016. Correct me if any of this is wrong. And Octopus Energy is now the UK's largest electricity provider, and we have 7 million UK customers and counting. We also operate in 18 other countries across 5 continents. So we've got offices in Japan, France, Germany, Spain, Italy, the US, New Zealand, Australia, and all up, that accounts for 10,000 people working for Octopus globally. And our aim is to disrupt the energy sector using technology to deliver energy that is better both for people and, crucially, the planet. And I love a lame transition. And here to talk to you all about this is the man who started it all, Greg Jackson. Hi, Greg.
Hey, everyone. I just say why we do this. So I get emails quite a lot from schools, from heads, from teachers, from careers officers, and actually loads from students as well, and asking us, inviting us to come and talk at schools. And we've done some, we just couldn't get to anywhere near as many as we get requests. And so we wanted to try doing it via Zoom so we can hopefully make it interesting to people. But your feedback is everything. So whatever you find interesting today, let us know. And whatever you find either uninteresting or a waste of time, let us know as well. Because this way we can hopefully, help more people when they ask us. And I should say that the requests I get, we get them from so many angles because I guess energy touches everybody's life. So we get asked a lot because of the world of renewables and climate change. So we get asked a lot by people in geography. We get asked a lot by people in economics because energy is a really complicated market. But we also get asked by people in physics because of all the technologies involved, like electric vehicles, batteries, and renewable generation. And then we get asked a lot in careers because as a company that's grown from 0 to over 10,000 people working in so many sectors, really interesting. And I get asked a lot in business studies, and because as an entrepreneur that started a company from nothing that became big, we get asked about that. We even get asked about politics. So I hope this can either mean it's really interesting to people or only a little bit is interesting to each. So I hope we can make it work for everyone.
Also ask questions about it all because Greg's ready. So you mentioned this has grown really, really quickly and into a really big, amazing company. So how did it all start?
Look, I'm an entrepreneur. I've started 4 or 5 businesses, but this is by far the biggest. But I think that the original thing, good ideas come to you lots of times, and they come in our daily life. So I had bad experiences with energy companies. And because I'd worked in technology a lot, I kind of could see that underneath all these bad problems was they had bad technology. They were basically running the energy sector on systems that were 50 years old. And that meant that customer service was shoddy, but they're also big, expensive, bloated companies because they had people doing stuff computers should do, and their own people couldn't do a great job because they had to use terrible computer systems.
And also, I think another part of the puzzle that people ask a lot is why octopus? And I really like this in your answer because it says a lot about the company itself.
So why is it called octopus? Yeah. So we were going to be called Positive Energy, but when we found our first investor, it was a company called Octopus Investments, and we needed £10 million of investment. So it's quite a big ask. And they agreed to give us the money, but they also said that they wanted us to call it Octopus Energy. And we were like, oh no, like suckers, slime, tentacles. You could just imagine like the newspapers doing images of tentacles reaching into people's wallets. So we really didn't like the idea, but we did quite want the investment. So we went away and spent about a week working out how do you make octopus appealing. The answer, by the way, came from our friends at Disney. So small tentacles, big eyes, and a smile. And so you'll probably recognize some inspiration. But the other bit was, of course, nowadays we've all seen things like The Octopus Teacher and understand octopuses are really clever creatures. So there's loads of reasons we can give, but the real one, it was a bit of an accident.
Money. So I think also now is a really interesting time to
I should say, by the way, one day before they gave us the big money, Octopus Investment said, don't call it octopus. They chickened out.
A day.
And we said, no way, we'd fall in love. We're calling it octopus.
I'm really glad you did, because the metaphor just keeps giving. So I think this is also a really interesting time to be in renewable energy as well, because the transition is happening really fast all around us. I've only been in the industry for about 5 years, and I remember seeing something and going, oh, renewable energy, you can sign up to in 2 minutes. That's new and interesting. And now, everyone's doing it. And so at the moment, these are all the renewable energy sources around the UK. So solar, you can see down the bottom there, is now the cheapest form of energy ever in the whole history of the world, I believe. And wind isn't that far behind. So you can see, as I mentioned, loads of solar in the south, more wind up the north where it's windier in Scotland and Northern Ireland. And then you've got hydro up north as well, where there's the big mountains, lots of rain and lots of energy in rivers. So all of that put together means that the UK grid is now the greenest that it's ever been. So you might know that when you switch on the lights, it's likely to come from carbon-free sources, including renewables and nuclear. And with the last coal-fired power station closing about a month ago, that tiny little sliver of purpley red is no longer there. So no coal is being burnt to stream this or to play your video games when you go home. But what I think is more interesting is what the future will look like. And we've already got loads of questions from people about what Octopus is doing, but I think it's more interesting to tell it in a kind of wider scope. So lots of questions, as I mentioned, about how we grow the brand, but I've chosen these 4 as what we are really pushing for and how that will change the industry. So we've got ending reliance on gas, homes without energy bills, investing billions into the UK renewables and way more into renewables globally. And I just wanted to do a really quick quiz on the first one. 40% of all the UK's carbon emissions come from our homes. Now, which device is usually the biggest contributor to this, do you think? Put your hands up, get your teachers to... I've just got images of all the classrooms where no one wants to speak, but I was always that person going...
For those who don't know, by the way, Sophia used to be, present TV programs for young people. So I just happened to have that skill on our team.
Yeah, it's a prerequisite to in Australia. Cooking, interesting. Yeah, fridge or greaser. I know you made fridge. Yeah. Oven, cooking, amazing. Charging devices. Well, I mean, depends how many devices you've got, especially cars.
EVs.
Yeah, EVs. Yeah. Central heating. Say All right, I'm gonna stop it there because yes, Sadie is pretty right. So I've got cooking twice, and then charging devices. Yes, Ida, Gas boiler. I honestly didn't really know what this was until I started renting because it's always hidden away in a cupboard somewhere. But it is gas boilers that are used to heat homes and hot water because they're very efficient, can turn 90% of the energy from gas into hot water and into heating. And so the only way to decarbonize our homes is to move away from burning natural gas in boilers. And to do this, we're going to have to replace something like this with something like this, heat pumps, which is a really big focus for us, but also I think the energy industry throughout the UK. Tell us a bit about heat pumps.
Yeah, I mean, so what we should first of all say about gas is the word boiler makes you think it's going to be boiling water. I mean, it doesn't. It just heats it to about 50 degrees, maybe 60 degrees C, and pumps up warm water around your home. It goes through the radiators, which then transfer the heat into your house. It also heats the hot water that goes into baths and showers and washing up. Thanks to the laws of physics, the most you can ever get when you burn something is 1 unit of heat for 1 unit of input energy. And you're always going to lose something. So gas boilers are about, I don't know, 80 or 90% efficient at releasing the energy in the gas and turning it into heat. Heat pumps work very differently. The way they generate heat is they extract heat, typically from the outside air, but it can also be from the ground or from water near rivers, lakes, or underground water. There's always some heat in there. Even when it's 0 degrees C, there's actually heat in the air because after all, it can go to -10 or -20, or indeed down to about -273. So there's always some degrees in there of heat that you can grab. So it grabs some of that temperature, some of that heat, uses it to heat up a substance, which it then multiplies up and pumps, uses to heat water, which it then pumps around the radiators or use it for hot water and so on. But the magic here is because the electricity is being used essentially to pump liquids around, rather than directly generate the heat, it can be 300% efficient or 400 or 500%. That is, for every unit of electricity it uses, it can produce 3, 4, 5 units of heat. So for every kilowatt of electricity, you get 3, 4, or even 5 kilowatt hours of heat. That efficiency can never be touched by any form of burning stuff. And that's really why what we're seeing now is the world is trying to move to more efficient and cleaner forms of heating. Heat pumps have gone from nowhere to being famous in just 2 or 3 years. By the way, they work a bit like an air conditioner. An air conditioner extracts heat from inside a room and pumps that heat outside, which is why they make the room colder. If you ever walk past an air conditioner in the street, you'll feel it pumping out hot air. So it's exactly the same, but being run the other way around.
Like the back of a fridge is really warm as well.
Yeah, the back of the fridge is really warm because it's extracting the heat from inside the fridge and then pumping it to the outside world.
That the 300x efficiency is still the magic part to me. That blows my mind. We did have a little video on how that works, but it is a bit for younger audiences. You can check it out on YouTube. It is a really good explainer, but I think Greg's done a really great job there. So we'll skip that if I can. I said I'll skip that. How to hit computer. There we go. And so, as you've said, we've really made this the greenest solution in home heating. But these are some of the goals that we as Octopus have. So we've got training 1,000 people every year to install heat pumps by 2030. And then we've got build over 1,000 heat pumps per month with our partners RED, which will also bring hundreds of new jobs around the country, especially in Northern Ireland, and then installing 600,000 heat pumps. This is just the math, crunching the numbers. So by 2030, we hope to have 600,000 installed.
I think this is important because a lot of the time when we talk about things like moving to clean energy, there's understandably a lot of concern about the jobs, the people that work in gas and oil and what's going to happen. But we always find you create far more jobs in the new technology than we leave behind in the old one. And, we're already seeing this.
So it's all about making sure that people have the skills and are retrained and have that equitable transition.
Yeah, and a great future. I mean, it's going to be a long time before robots can fit heat pumps. So, in a world where AI is changing future careers, these are great careers. By the way, quick question from Sadie. What is it? Heat pumps like the reverse of air conditioning. Could the tech mean has? Yes, it does. A great question, Sadie. So Sadie's question, essentially, can you use the same bit of equipment to do both air conditioning and heating? And you absolutely can. Most UK homes aren't set up for it because to do that, what you want to be able to do is pump the hot air or cold air around the house to cool it or heat it. whereas most UK houses are heated through radiators. But this is going to change over time. And you can actually even cool down the radiators with a heat pump. It's just that they don't cool down the room that much.
Nice. And we've also got one from Sage. Are heat pumps cheaper?
Currently, they're more expensive to buy and to install, but they're cheaper to run as long as you use electricity on a smart tariff. That is that the heat pump will automatically use more electricity when it's cheap, which happens at times on the grid when there's a lot of wind and a lot of sun and a lot of spare grid capacity. And they use less at the times the electricity is expensive. And doing that, they're a few £100s a year cheaper than a gas boiler to run. Part of the reason that we manufacture our own heat pumps with Red is to bring the installation costs right down. They're cheaper to manufacture, and there's no middlemen involved. And also, we make them cheaper to install. There's loads of other companies. This isn't an advert for Octopus, by the way. It just, because we're doing all this, we've got a lot of expertise in it. But there's loads of other great companies doing stuff too.
Yeah. Talk about doing really cool stuff. So another thing that we're looking at is homes without energy bills. What are these, and can I have one?
Yeah, so a lot of the time, people think, we used to be told that going to clean energy was going to increase our cost of living. The reality is, if you can generate your own electricity using solar panels and then use it to heat at home with a super efficient heat pump, and you've got a battery that can store that solar energy to be used when it's dark, we can actually create homes that just don't have to pay energy bills. They've still got a grid connection so that at the times the house hasn't got enough electricity in its solar or battery, it can pull from the grid. But it also sells electricity back onto the grid, and it makes more money selling it than it does buying it.
Incredible. I cannot wait for this and being able to have one of these. And then we also are trying to retrofit.
So there's a question there
apartments as well, right?
Yeah, just if heat pumps are made sustainably. It's a great question. But nothing that we make anywhere in the world is really totally sustainable. I mean, there's always some use of energy or water, or but they're no less sustainable than a gas boiler. The difference is that they last longer, by the way. But more importantly, so the gas boiler uses thousands of litres of gas a week, which can never be replaced. Every litre of gas you're burning has to be dug out of the ground, transported around the world, and then we've got the CO2, and you just don't get any of that with a heat pump.
Really great. And then another follow-up heat pump one. Would they work for our old school buildings? And if not, how could we upgrade them?
So traditionally, heat pumps only heated the water to about 45 degrees C. And a gas boiler heated it to 55. So you didn't have as much temperature going into your radiators. First of all, more modern heat pumps can now heat water to 65 or 75 degrees C. So we can get the same temperature out of a heat pump. What will work in each individual school will depend on its circumstances. And one of these things is there's millions of buildings that are dead easy to put a heat pump in now. A lot of homes that were built in the 1970s or the year 2000 onwards, dead easy. And so if we focus on those, and we'll get to harder buildings, which includes some older schools over time, by the time we get to them, it'll be much cheaper to do. But already there are schools moving this direction.
I'm going to spring this one on you as well. Just it inspired me, that question. Could these kind of zero bills or homes without energy bills also transfer into schools without energy bills?
Yeah, it all depends on the pattern of consumption. But schools are great because they use most of their power during the day, when even in Britain, it's often sunny. So they're a great candidate. And we're beginning to work with some big banks and big construction companies to bring this kind of idea to schools where we can.
Really cool. So keep posted. And then another thing that I think we're doing, which is really great, is supporting renewables in Africa. So we've partnered with Sherbro Alliance Partners to build a wind farm in Sierra Leone. And this wind farm will develop the basis or form the basis for a new renewable energy models. So thanks for the question, Sage. We'll answer that one in a second. I just wanted to share this video of what we're doing here and how else we can do it, unless you wanted to do anything else. Okay, good.
Today, 7 out of 10 people in Sierra Leone don't even have electricity. Just as happened with mobile phones and the internet. We can leapfrog past the world of fossil fuels and go straight to the best solution, which is renewables.
We will be building a wind farm which will consist of 5 wind turbines. This is really important because currently in West Africa and Africa more generally, there is a real lack of data of which to base new models for renewables on. Our wind farm will be collecting data so that we can get the right information into those models and see the tremendous opportunity that is renewables for the African continent.
This island is an ambitious plan that the SAP group, my group, have had. We're working in conjunction with the government and we're planning to build the first West African smart city.
Sherbrooke Alliance partners that have already been working to really build a framework for Sierra Leone where they can bring in partners like ours and unlock the island city vision that they have for Sherbrooke.
To have an incredible company like Octopus bring a wind farm is massively significant. It's not only significant for Sierra Leone, but it's definitely significant for West Africa.
We're starting off with the pilot program on Sherbrooke Island City, but the long-term plan is for Octopus to become a partner on the renewable side of energy as the city develops.
Africa is the sort of place with a lot of corrective opportunity. In other words, if the rest of the world have done it a certain way, we can do it differently.
And it'll enable countries, not only Sierra Leone, but across West Africa, to start benefiting from cheap, clean electricity.
Fantastic. The reason I chose that is I really love that idea of what Idris said, is that corrective opportunity, being able to leapfrog and being able to do things like we haven't done before because they're not locked into legacy systems. So yeah, I just think it's really great that we're doing that.
Yeah, and I think one quick interesting thing about this is I've discovered in this job that, you know, there are celebrities out there as influencers, some of whom just do stuff for money. Others have discovered that because they've got that fame, I guess, they can use it for good. And I you know, Idris that's his heritage, and he really cares about it. Very quickly, yes, I do have a heat pump in my home, and it's fab. And my home is 200 odd years old, very leaky, and it works great. Becky, yeah, if you're in touch with us, so just mention this question, and we'll see if anything can be done with no promise.
Brilliant. Okay, so now for the fun part. I mean, it's all been fun, but we've got a bunch of people here to talk to you from all over the business. We've invited them to give you an insight into just how many opportunities there are in both a company like this, but the energy industry in general. So I've asked them all to rapid fire, and I will stop you all if we run over time, to tell us, obviously, name, their job, top 3 skills they need, how they got there, the worst part of their job, and the best part. And don't be intimidated by Greg being here. Feel free to say the worst part. We'll do some, you know, I'm sure he can help fix it. So I'm going to pick on people. Daria, would you like to go first?
Of course. Hey, I'm Daria. I lead the engineering programs projects inside Octopus. That means we design, develop, and manufacture our own hardware within Octopus ourselves. The 3 top skills I need for this is problem solving, communication, and time management. I did go to university. I studied electrical and electronics engineering, and I've got master's degree in telecommunications as well. I enjoyed maths and PE at school, actually, and I use maths every day, obviously, everyday life, as well as my work life to analyze the results and all that. And I still play tennis and do a lot of sports too. Worst thing about my job, I couldn't think of one. I'm so sorry, but if it was another company, I would say the HR kind of stuff, which doesn't exist in this company. And the best thing about my job is seeing people use our products out and about, basically. That's me.
It's really cool, Daria. You've invented stuff that's gone from idea to flying off production lines in massive numbers in like less than 6 months. But you literally invent stuff and put chips on circuits.
Yeah, it's really, really cool.
Thank you.
So not a hard act to follow at all, everyone else. Ben, do you want to have a go?
Yeah, so I started Octopus Energy and I was an engineer installing the heat pumps. I've now moved over to the training side of it. So any newcomers that we have coming in, I'll train them up and get them ready to go out into the field. So yeah, that means I'll train them as well on our new cozy unit. like plumbing, so we do a bit of radiators, and we also do the Tetra system. The Tetra system's like a ladder safety system, so we can make sure that all of our employees are safe whilst working at heights. Top 3 skills, communication is one of them, which is massive. The ability to understand people's different learning stages is another one. And obviously hands-on practical experience is another one that we need. Did I go to uni? Unfortunately not. I went to a functional skills college, just to improve my grades to get where I want to be now. And then I left. Once I left there, I managed to fall lucky with an apprenticeship. What did I enjoy about school? So at school, drama was my best subjects because of all the props and lights and the acting and stuff like that. In school, I was generally good at it because I used to enjoy it. Do I use it now? Most definitely, especially whilst I'm at Octopus, just to express my personality and emphasize that. The worst thing about my job, I struggled for this one, I'm not going to lie, guys. But it has to be probably spreadsheets. It's only because I'm new to it and just trying to get around it. And obviously, I'm more of a hands-on do it person, but that's something that I am practicing on, and I will get better with it within time. Best thing about my job is I love seeing people take something away that I've shown them, making them feel comfortable enough to like around me to do their job and ask questions and be able to be their true authentic selves around me whilst in our training department. And also making positive changes makes me enjoy what I do the most.
Thanks, Ben. Hey, and you've also got loads of people who look up to you, right? You manage a lot of teams.
Yeah.
And your job is not just to boss them around, it's actually to inspire them, motivate them, and solve problems for them, which you do brilliantly.
Yeah, sorry about that, mate.
No, I'm sorry.
I always say our training department is not there. We're not there to quiz you and to see what you can't do. If you can't do it, we'll work on it. There's no time that we've always got time for our employees like that. So if you can't do it, just work harder with us and we'll get you through it. It's not a case of you're not doing it, you can't do it, off you go.
You also have the best kit as well.
Yeah. I was going to say you could add designer to your list because you made that logo. Yeah.
Yes, I did. I'm currently it's currently getting rolled out just for the training department because we haven't got anything that stands out with us at the moment, but I'm sure this does.
So fantastic. Thanks so much, Ben. Okay, quickly moving on. Xander.
Hey guys. I'm Xander. I'm a social media manager. I make memes and videos for our social media. I think the top 3 skills that you need in my role, or that I'm finding that I need, are reading comprehension. So reading something complicated and being able to make it simpler for everyone to understand. Using a camera and editing on my computer, and being happy to be a bit silly. You also need, as a social media manager, to know lots of memes, which I think is fun. I like that bit. I went to uni. Yes, I did. I did a Bachelor of Creative Industries in journalism and digital media. And while I was at uni, I was also working as a reporter on TV on the Australian version of Newsround, which was really fun. At school, I loved theatre. I was really good at theatre. That was my thing. So similar to Ben, but I wasn't building sets. I was like on stage doing that sort of thing. I also loved English and history. And I use those skills a lot. Public speaking and acting are so important. I use them every day. I find that you perform in 100 different ways every day. And my school didn't have sort of a film course, so I learned a lot of how to make videos by myself at home, watching YouTube tutorials. The worst thing about my job is when I have to spend like 6 hours editing a video that I am in, and I have to just look at myself and listen to myself for 6 hours. It's fun to a point, but you get to a point where you're like, I've heard this line a million times.
Yeah, worse than that, mate. We have to look at you in your videos as well.
Yeah, and I have to look at so many videos of Greg. The best part of my job is that I get to have a lot of fun, and I feel like I'm making a difference. It's something new every day. There's always something happening. It's really fun.
Yeah, your job does look really, really fun. Raisha, you're up.
Hello. My job title is Head of Propositions in the Generation team. So this team looks at how we can generate more green energy, which can power your homes and schools. My role is focused on building more renewables, things like wind turbines and solar farms, but building it in a way that really benefits people. So a great example of this is Fan Club. These are octopus wind turbines that generate renewable power. But when it's very windy and there's too much energy, Fan Club gives this to local people at a discounted price. So this means that when there is an abundance of wind, people can benefit from cheaper, greener energy even more than usual. Top 3 things about my job, or top 3 skills. First is problem solving, the second is creativity, and the third is being analytical. A bit more about my background. I went to university. I studied philosophy, politics, and economics. Now, when I was at school, I didn't have any favorite subjects. And actually, I really struggled with my health. I had some health issues for quite some time. And so what that meant was there weren't any subjects that I was really good at or really enjoyed. However, I worked hard, I kept trying different things, and I eventually found the areas that I do like. So if any of you find yourselves in a similar position, I would encourage you to keep trying, keep exploring new things, because you will find what lights you up. The worst thing about my job, I'd say the tricky thing about my job, is that we are changing the energy system. And sometimes that change can feel very slow. The best thing about my job is that I really care about what I'm building at Octopus, and I have a great team of people that I'm building it with.
Yes, absolutely. I've never realized how many, I mean, obviously creativity is such a big thing, but like hearing how many people are saying this. Okay, amazing. Who else? Just 2 more, but we're not in any order, I promise you. Pat.
Hey guys, well, tough acts to follow. My name is Pat. I'm a product manager at Kraken, which is the software company within Octopus Energy Group. What is a product manager? Well, firstly, what's a product? Broadly, it's a thing that does something for people, which is pretty vague. But my product is a website which helps people with their energy. So it lets them decide how they want to pay for that energy. It shows them how much they're using. And increasingly so, it allows them to control that energy. So whether they've got a charger for their electric vehicle or a heat pump to heat their home, we can connect to that device and optimize it to give them the best possible experience. So obviously that product can be complicated, and believe me, it can have some problems and some opportunities to make it better. So my job as a product manager is to find those problems and opportunities, define them clearly so our team can build something to solve those problems. And then I guess crucially decide what we're going to measure. So when we've delivered that solution, whether it's worked or not. Top 3 skills that I need for this job: you need to be able to learn quickly, communicate effectively, and prioritize efficiently. I did go to uni and I studied engineering, so no surprise, I was a bit of a nerd at school and I loved maths and physics, but I did enjoy art and design as well, so more creative stuff. I think my role is a good combination of the two. Worst thing about my job is probably you're a kind of a jack of all trades and a master of none. Could be a pro for some, but I think if you want something a bit more focused, then it might not be the right fit for you. And then best thing about my job, probably be the immediate feedback. So, you know, our software and our teams are so good that we can find a problem, solve it, and release it to our customers all within the same day or even within a matter of hours. And I think seeing something you designed and built making a difference to people that quickly is really rewarding and inspiring.
Well, thanks, Pat. And speaking about customers, Zane, you can talk more about them.
I can indeed. Hello, everyone. My name is Zane. I'm an operations manager here in London. I guess there are 3 skills, or actually my job, before I forget that. I manage our operations team here, which essentially is our customer service department. I've indirectly 60 indirect reports. And I would say the 3 skills that I have to do my job is be a good listener, be a leader, and also having great teamwork. I did go to uni as well. I did sports and exercise science at university. To be honest with you, I wasn't the best at school. I didn't really know what direction I really wanted to go to. So I guess the best part of school for me was actually having people that could harness the skills I have and actually put me in the right direction, which was really good. The worst part of my job is sometimes having really hard conversations with people that are really struggling financially. But this kind of moves me on to like the best part of my job as well. And I think something that's brilliant about Octopus is we can have great conversation in terms of how we can actually make people save money and actually do things the right way for our customers as well. But also another good thing about my job is actually helping people progress and actually having great conversations about people's career, like people did for me when I was early on in my career as well.
That's wonderful. Thanks, Zane.
And Zane, of course, I mean, it goes without saying that one thing that our company is well known for is how well we look after customers, and you and your team deliver that. And for those who don't know when you say you've got 60 reports, that means there's about 60 people on your team essentially working that you manage. The work you do is so astonishingly important. What really struck me listening to everyone there was this, how a modern company has such a wide range of different types of talent, and that everything from drama right through to engineering and everything in between contributes to making something very special.
Yeah.
And you all know each other. Like, I mean, not to say you guys individually, but you all work with people doing all these different jobs. It's not like Xander just hangs around with a bunch of people with video cameras. Like, you literally work with the engineers and the customer operations and the software and so on. Cool.
And we also got lots of questions about the big job. What's it like? What founding a company is like? How do you become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think first of all, I'm not one of those people that says everyone should be an entrepreneur. If it's for you, it's incredible. I always loved the idea of not having a boss, because even at school, I wasn't great at doing what I was told to do. And if I thought I knew better, I always wanted to do that instead. And being an entrepreneur is your chance to put your money where your mouth is, so to speak. But the reason I say it's not for everyone is, first of all, it can go wrong. And, I think when you're young and you don't have commitments and a family, that's kind of okay. But, if you've got to support a family and stuff like that, and then it goes wrong, life's brutal, and it can lead to a lot of damage. And the other thing is really, really, really bad for your health. It's...
Are you okay?
You can literally, you literally can't switch off. Like, my phone will ring anytime, day or night, because of there'll be a story in the media that's misrepresenting us, or there'll be a government decision that's about to go the wrong way for a major investment decision, or we'll have a project going badly wrong and some customers that are unhappy, and so on. And so, and ultimately, quite rightly, by the way, the job of the boss is to be responsible for that. And I think it's one of the things that makes us successful. But for those people who are happy with that, there's a great book on entrepreneurship. It said, if you want to be an entrepreneur, look your friends and family in the eyes, let them know you love them, and you'll see them again in 20 years. And if you're willing to do that, it's amazing. But what I really love is bringing together, you saw today this incredible range of talent. And I don't tell people what to do. I kind of set the mission. And then when there's an issue, they come ask me how I can help solve it. And I know quite a lot of people on this call personally from projects we've worked on together, doing amazing things that make me blown away with pride at what people can do when you give them a chance.
I mean, it also looks pretty fun as well. Let's be honest.
Well, I'd tell you what, a lot of people, including me, in the early days of setting up a company, and indeed just being a boss, your work really is, scrubbing the toilets, doing anything it takes within the company. There's one line of code with my name on it in Kraken as well, but and answering the phone to customers and continually doing everything. But as you grow the company bigger, and frankly, we've got a team that can do all of those jobs brilliantly, more and more my job is to be out there creating the opportunities for what we do on a bigger scale. So talking to world leaders and politicians about how clean energy can be a great opportunity for the economy, as well as helping tackle environmental issues and climate change, creating jobs, and then taking that message around the world. And it is a huge privilege, but you still have to fit the real work in around it. So it ends up being even more of a 24-hour job.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, it sounds very stressful, but also fantastic at the same time. So now we have your questions. We have a few people with their hands raised. If you wouldn't mind just popping your questions into the chat, it'll just make it easier. Speaking of, what we're doing and where we're going, and speaking to the strategy, Ethan's asked, will you ever move to develop eco-friendly planes and ships?
Great question. I was going to say one last thing I should say on all of that before. Just then, Sophia picked out some photos of me with important people. I spend more of my time talking to customers than I do to important people. But you know what? Look, I came from an ordinary background. I went to an ordinary school in a small town in the north of England. And I think the biggest thing I can say is that no one is too good for us. We belong everywhere. And you should never have that sense that you're too big for your boots or anything like that. And I generally say to everyone, there's a whole world set up to make us feel less important, and we're not. We're just as important as everyone else, and we'd belong in those rooms. Anyway, right. So quickly, that question about planes and ships. Look, we've worked with some green plane companies, providing with green hydrogen, and also with refueling stations, recharging for battery-powered planes. Planes are really, really, really hard to make green, though. And so planes are one of the very few things where right now, the best thing we can do is try and create fuels it's called sustainable aviation fuel. So recycled vegetable oil, recycled other recycled oils and biological materials, or even using algae and bacteria to grow fuel, so that when you're growing it, it sucks as much carbon dioxide out of the air as it will release when you burn it. And we do work with some of those firms, but there are incredible companies in the world of engineering that can do stuff we couldn't dream of in terms of designing planes. And I think over the next 10 or 15 years, we'll start to see planes that were designed from the beginning to be green, that will be aerodynamically optimized for it. And we'll start to see planes that will go further than you'd imagine with lower emissions. Shipping is a phenomenal contributor to worldwide emissions. I can't remember the number, but it's mind-boggling how bad shipping is. And shipping really can be made greener quite quickly. So first of all, we can use things like ammonia, which derive from hydrogen, to fuel ships, and that's beginning to happen. Great work from a guy called Andrew Forrest on that, a company called Fortescue. But also some big lines, like some of the big shipping lines, are experimenting with putting huge towers on the ship to catch wind power. And then in Norway, you've already seen battery-powered ferries. So the world of shipping is beginning to happen, and it's crucial. Again, we don't have so much to bring to that. Our real expertise is in generation and using electricity in homes and within businesses, but we're on the edge of some of that stuff.
Speaking of what we're on the edge of, what goals do we have for 2025? It's just next year.
Yeah, next year. Well, it's interesting. Currently, we're the biggest electricity company in the UK, and our job is now to, only 5% of homes have got what we call low carbon technology. So electric vehicle chargers, solar, battery, heat pump. Our job is to bring as many homes as possible into that world. So among our customer base and others, we now really got to ramp that up. So employing thousands of people in the world that Ben was talking about. And then outside the UK, we've got big energy companies in about 7 countries, like Octopus Energy operates there. We've got to grow them to the same size as we are in the UK. We're particularly good in France, Italy, Germany, Spain, and Japan. And then we've got to build as much renewable generation as our customers use. We've got $20 billion more of that to build. And then, Kraken currently powers about 66 million accounts globally, because we've licensed to other companies. And we've got to get that over time to about 600 million. So, that's kind of the beginning. We've got to do all that whilst not dropping the ball. So we've got to really look after our existing customers here in the UK and relentlessly campaign to bring the cost of energy down. So a lot of the time I spend with politicians is to talk about the ways, like, if we're not careful, we're going to build a whole new system that costs more than the old one. We need to make this one cheaper than the old one. And that means, for example, unbelievably cheap electricity when it's windy and sunny. And we need to be able to deliver that for people. And we've also got to take some hard decisions over time that we won't maintain the entirety of our gas network forever, for example, because we might as well electrify it and save the money.
Okay, hear that, everyone? That's our job for next year. Go. And we've got another question here from David. How important is data management / security within the company?
Yeah, so data security is one of the greatest risks for almost any company, certainly any large one. And the reality is everyone is vulnerable. At the moment, anybody thinks they're not vulnerable is when they are particularly vulnerable. And so one of the big challenges actually is not only having great data security, but creating the data structures that mean that even if the bad guys get in, they can't do much harm. Now, by the way, even on that, we may think we've done a good job, and you only ever find out when you're vulnerable. But traditional data security was all about building the highest fences, the fattest walls, in data terms, in the hope you'd stop the bad guys getting in. And you still have to do that. But the best thing is if right in the middle of, once they get in, if they can't actually find anything valuable and they can't use it, then you're a lot safer. So a good example would be We don't store any customers' bank details. All of the bank details are actually stored by the banks. Then we have a special code that only works between us and that bank to access the money in their account. So we transact billions and billions of pounds every month, but without storing a single bank detail, which means if we did get hacked, your bank details are safe. Now, that's just one example, but I think that's the kind of thinking the world has to do now. In terms of data management, that's unbelievably complex. I think we gather about, just for Octopus Energy in the UK alone, maybe 10 billion items of data a day. Trying to make that useful so that people can join up, like, you know, if a customer has got an electric car and we're charging it smartly every day, just how much does each electron cost? That kind of question we have to answer. So data management is a huge issue. We've got a very big data science team. A lot of them came from statistical backgrounds as well as engineering and electrical ones. Engineering and software development ones, because it's a very special skill. And that's also where a lot of the artificial intelligence and machine learning sits.
And I think it might be the same, David, I don't know, but they also asked before, are current smart meters the ideal solution for this real-time data gathering?
Current smart meters were designed in like the year 2005, before anyone on this call except me was born. And so they're pretty clunky. They're not smart at all, but they're what we've got, and the regulation and the law lay them down in the UK as that is the standard. So we have to work with it. I'd love to be able to invent our own. In fact, Daria on this call has invented an amazing device, Octopus Home Mini, that connects to a smart meter and sends us the data over the internet every 10 seconds, so we can do much cleverer stuff with it. And that device costs 10 times less than a smart meter because it's made with modern technology. So it would be great to modernize them too. In fact, maybe someone on this call could do that in their early years of the next job.
Yeah, challenge set. Okay, we are 1 minute over time. So unless there's any really, really burning questions, I think we might say thank you. Thank you everyone so much for joining us, answering all the questions.
Just one quick
yeah.
bit. Is there any questions we haven't answered? We will answer them separately after this, because I think if you've given your time, we want to make sure it's worth your while. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, and if there are any questions that crop up, email them in. And Sophia will be delighted to make sure we answer them all. Thank you. Cheers, everyone.